Hello, everyone. Look up here in the corner. It is Nellie Harden with the 6570 Family Project, where we are really learning how to love and lead our daughters in a way to help them learn how to love and lead themselves before they leave home. We are building foundations of worth, esteem, and confidence in them so that they can launch with life and not just be released to it, right? And we'll talk a little bit more about that today, actually. But I want to talk about serving others and how that actually builds your child. It builds us as adults, but it really, really builds our children, especially when you're looking from the perspectives of their biology and brain development, their psychology, and their faith and in culture. So let's go ahead and get started. But before we do, I just want to point out this picture is let's see, the fourth one over is my daughter up there. She serves on the worship band at the church that we go to. So just a little shout out for her. All right. So I want to go through 10 reasons why serving is so important. And the first one is that it really opens their eyes. It lets them see some hard things now so you can talk through paths to that hard thing, through that hard thing, and after that hard thing with them. And they might be then grooming themselves in order to help somebody else go through that, not just witness it, but actually be an active step. And so they get to see and witness that problems are bigger than just them and the little world that they are in, but they can be a piece of the solution too. I remember in the Bethany Hamilton movie, about her life, right? But in the movie, when I first was really introduced to her story, she talked about how after she was bit, she was so, and if you don't know Bethany Hamilton, I don't, most people do, but if you just don't for some reason, she was surfing when she was, I think she was 12 or 13 years old and lost one of her arms due to a shark bite. So after that was done, she, kind of sunk in on herself, turned in on herself. And it wasn't until she went on a missions trip that she started seeing, hold on, there's a world much bigger than just my problems out there, right? And she got to be a piece of a solution to a problem that had nothing to do with her problem. And it really opens their eyes. So, and then opportunities also for really big conversations. I just listed some here: drugs, STDs, having children early and outside of marriage, peer pressure, parties, abuse of all kinds, right? Financial ruin, addiction, driving, and the dangers that can come with that, and pornography, and uh, CR is Celebrate Recovery. If there's an organization around you for that, it's at a lot of churches, but just those redemption stories that you get to see and have conversations about. And it's really eye opening for our kids. It's very much eye opening and heart opening for us as well. So that is the first one. Second, it gives them a purpose. And if you've been listening to this show much, you'll know that that first foundational level, that worth, is really built out of those five pieces of seen, heard, love, belong, and purpose. Purpose is a huge, huge part of the human experience. And so if they are serving, they have a purpose. There is a need that they are then filling out there in their own unique way. And it lets them contribute and be a part of something that's bigger than their struggles or even next steps in their struggles. So what do I mean by that? Maybe if they are struggling with some bad choices with alcohol, maybe you go and they serve at a rehab center for people that have been hit by drunk drivers, right? Or people that were the drunk driver themselves and they need some help moving around and getting around, and they need a lot of help now, right? So that's what I mean by struggles that are further down the line if they keep going down that path. And then they get to be a part of this, and it will help them redefine their current choices because they see where the path could go. Okay. So it gives them unique purpose and can really help them see forward. And it helps them future cast. Like we were just saying, in a part of that purpose, it also helps them future cast and be a part of the solution before they ever have a chance to be a part of that problem at all. So what I mean by that is, problems and challenges, they come up on our children fast. So maybe even before you ever have an issue with drugs or alcohol or anything like that, you're already talking to them. You're already serving. You're already sharing those stories and hearing those redemption stories and helping people through that, having those discussions so that when it does come to their front doorway and their experience, right, in their life path, then they'll already have an answer because they've seen what could happen from it. Okay. So it helps them future cast and say, I know I definitely don't want that path. I definitely don't want that path. I like this path, and so on, because they've seen and experienced and had conversations about so many other things already. Right. And it helps them focus on what is important. It shows them the world, right? We cannot hide the hard and the messy. We just don't make it the centerpiece. So, extrinsic or out of us forces, right? And out of us experiences. Think about when maybe your child lives in America and you go to a third world country to do some service, right? They have never experienced or really contemplated life like these people live every single day. And so having them experience other cultures can really help them focus on what's important and not just all of this extra glitz and glamour that we have. I was talking recently to a good friend of mine, and she was talking about when she was down in South America, and this place that she was at, it was really, really rural and they really didn't have anything, but it was some of the happiest people that she had ever seen. And so it really gives some perspective on there and go, well, I was really upset because I didn't get the car that night, or I didn't get the newest phone, or I didn't get this or that. But these people have never even thought that was in their realm of possibility, and they're so happy and joyous. How do I find that? Where does that come from? Right. And you can see the good and hard in the world and not be fooled into either one of them being the only thing out there, because there's a lot of hard in our world. And you can go around saying, oh, this world is terrible. This world is going, to bits. It's awful. Or you can go around with the other lens and say, this world is perfect and nothing is wrong. And this is where I am and I live in a bubble, right? Neither one of those are a true reality to what's happening. So there is good and there is hard in the world, and we can find joy everywhere. And there's work to be done everywhere too. So if we can go in with that service oriented mindset and be like, okay, look at this incredible joy. Yes, these people are suffering. Yes, it is really hard here, but look how happy they are playing in that one game down in the dirt. I want to learn how to play that, and I want to serve them in order to give them other things that they need as well. But it's a give and take, and you can learn from them just as much as you teach, and vice versa. What about shows them their contributive power? And what do I mean by that? Well, problems are bigger than them, much bigger than them, but they can see a piece, or I'm sorry, can be a piece of the solution. And this really helps them avoid the I must save the world complex and move toward I can help the world. So I must save the world to I can help the world. Because when our kids, and I know that I have gone through this, I must save the world. I must do all of this. And if I'm not, I'm a failure, right? Not I am failing, which is something I can do something about and use it as a building block. But when I make that my identity with an I am failure because I can't save the whole world with all of these list of 20 million different issues, it feels very defeating. And that is a quick road to depression. And so we can avoid that by having them really assess their contributive power there and help the world. And the thing is, we're called to help the world. Galatians 6:10 says, therefore, as we have opportunity, let us go do good to all people. And then, of course, Mark 12:29 through 31 is our greatest commandments, right? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. And the second is to love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these, and there is no law against those either. And so we are called to serve and help others, love our neighbors as ourselves. And the beautiful thing is, you can do this as a life. I was speaking with another mom recently, and she was talking about how her daughter is going, and she's just 17 right now, and she is traveling the world, and she is going on mission after mission after mission, helping out with refugees from Ukraine. She's helping out with wells down in South America. And so that is what she is choosing to do with her life because she's so service oriented, right? So depends on where you fall and what you want to do and what you're called to, but you can make it a life mission as well. And let them see answered prayers. So beautiful. There are few things more powerful than a testimony in this world. And it helps them see beyond their actions because let's face it, bad decisions played out affect so many more people than just the person that made that decision, right? And so if you are in maybe a homeless shelter and you're talking with a certain person, not everyone's story there is necessarily their fault, and decisions were made for them, but they also made decisions too, right? And so talking with them about, okay, so that decision really ricocheted. It hurt your mom, it hurt your sister, it hurt your kids, it hurt your brother, right? It hurt your friends, it hurt your dog that you had, whatever that is. But helping them see, oh, you know what? I know that in my home, my parents can say that my decisions can hurt them or my siblings or other people, but I never really saw it until I see this, right? We were in Phoenix, Arizona one time, and we were in this little convenience store. And there was this woman that came out of nowhere. I don't shoot. My kids were in there. They were just shopping. We had just gotten there, long plane ride and everything. They were just looking for a snack. And this woman comes out from behind a kiosk and she just starts yelling at my kids. And they were probably like 8, 10, and 12, and just started yelling at them because they were white, right? And they didn't know what to do with that because they had never been in trouble for being white before. And some of our closest friends are not white, right? And so they were so confused. But we were able to see that. And then some of her other family was there and they were so embarrassed and sad and ashamed, right? And I felt so bad for them, even though this woman was berating my kids, but I felt so bad for them because of everything they were going through too. So, just another small example about how one person's actions and decisions really affect so many other people and some people that they don't even know. And then helps develop their brain. This is a big one. It helps grow their brain. And the tracks of those frontal lobes, we talk about this a lot, right under your forehead here is where that frontal lobe is. And it is being developed right now in your child up until about the age of 25, but especially during the 65-70 or the first 6,570 days, those 18 years. And it really happens in toddlerhood, goes a little slower, and then it really picks up in adolescence again. So really like 11, 12, 13, up through like 18, 17, 18, 19. It is going rapid fire and it's being built in there right now. And so if you help shape and mold that brain to be service oriented and to be service have a service mindset, then that's something they can carry with them the rest of their life because that is how this is being formed, right? Think about Play-Doh, right? We all had Play-Doh growing up. And there was a recent talk that came out, and there was a book called Twinge. And it was talking about how seniors have independent development. So their development in independence, right? The capacity of an eighth grader, right? And because we are having them just sit inside, they are safe inside, physically safe inside, right? Not necessarily mentally safe, not emotionally safe, but they're physically safe inside. They can play their games. They can be entertained by our little fun boxes, AKA our phones all the time. And they can sit there. And why would they leave, right? They're so complacent and everything is given to them there. but then we're releasing them out to the world. Like I was talking about before, we're just saying, okay, time's up. It's time to go. But we're not taking the time then, and they don't have the world skills, the mental skills, the emotional skills to actually have that foundation ready to go out and launch into the world. There's a really big difference between launching your child into the world and releasing them out in the world. And you and I know that we want to launch our children strong with that foundation of worth, esteem, and confidence. And they're equipped and they know how to be a self disciplined leader of themselves before they leave this house, right? So important. We don't want to just release our kids. And then here it says it helps them understand perspectives of challenges. They can witness how most people are doing actually the best that they can with what they have. And many people just don't know that they can do better. There's very different perspectives. My husband worked in Kairos Ministries for a small season, and we went to visit him. And he came out and he spent 3 days in a prison with a bunch of inmates. Some, many of them lifers. It was maximum security, and he said, all those guys that I met in there, they could have just been my friends, right? They could have just been my friends. It's just that they made these really bad decisions previously in their life, right? So much of that has to do with generational pain, which is also on here, right? It's all they knew. They had a really high pain tolerance for emotional and mental and maybe even physical pain. And so they never saw this pain is getting too much and it's not any more than the pain of change, right? So they just kept going. And really understanding that there's so many different perspectives. You cannot just segregate and separate people in this world between good and bad. There is such a spectrum of gray area in stories and stories within stories, in helping getting to know someone and understanding that they are a human that was doing or is doing the best they can with what they have. And they might not know that there is a way that they could do better. And stories are so much more complex, and you can spend the time when you're serving filling others' worth buckets. They might not have ever truly felt seen and heard and loved and have a place that they belong and have a purpose, right? And when someone goes through life without those, they are destined to make bad decisions that are going to hurt them and those around them. And then it also gives them a new gratitude, right? There's bigger needs out in the world than just their own. Kind of what I was talking about with that first one, right? There's much bigger needs than just their own. And here's the thing, guys, you can always serve. From the very, very small to the very big, it is a mindset of servanthood. So you can hold the door open for the person in front or in back of you. You can pick something up that someone dropped, right? We're sitting in church, sitting in class, sitting in a restaurant, someone dropped something. Oh, here you go, here you go. And that is an act of service. You can adopt animals from shelters, right? We always keep leashes in our car because lo and behold, you're going to find a stray dog on the side of the road. And so we always keep leashes in our car so we can pick them up. I do not even have a clue how many stray dogs we have picked up over the last 20, 25 years. I mean, it is probably over 50 at this point. And we get them and we either find who they belong to and take them back home, knock on some doors, or we have to take them to a shelter. But at least that dog is not on the road for its own safety and then for the safety of the mom or dad driving the minivan filled with kids that's going to swerve out of the way and hit a tree, right? So it's for everybody's good. And then start your own servant base. One of my daughters, she was really touched by this mom and daughter that she saw laying on the streets in the middle of December in Chicago, and she covered them with blankets. She was in first grade when this happened, and she covered them with blankets and just gave them, and there was such this beautiful moment of gratitude and just thanks, and I support and I love you and I hope you're okay, right? And we think about that mom and daughter so often. And now Lana, my daughter that did that, she's 15 now, so that was a long time ago, but that stayed with her, and she started this mission work of Bags for Chicago, even though we live 1,000, well, more than that, maybe 1,300 miles away from Chicago. She started that because she wanted to go there equipped to just give that out. And she had a whole list of everything that was in these bags: food and drinks and clothes and socks and gloves and I mean, water bottles, you name it. And so all of that was there. And that was something that she started and did. And it was a beautiful thing. And then, of course, there's organized activities, organized missions trips. You can always serve. There is never, ever a time that you can say, oh, there's nothing for me to do today, right? There's always something that you can do, even if it's as small as holding the door open for someone or, frankly, giving them a smile. My husband went to the store yesterday and he comes back and he had just this big old grin on his face. And he said, you know what? I walked around Walmart and he said, I just had this big smile on my face all the time. And he said, it was amazing how many people just looked so downtrodden or mad or sad. And then they just looked up and they saw me smiling at them. And then they returned to smile. And then it seemed to, kind of catch on. He said, I think I'm going to do that more often. And I think that's a great idea. So the smallest things can make huge differences, you guys. Because here's the thing. We're all in this thing together, this life thing. We are all, you and I, your kids, we are living on this planet at the same time and we're all in it together. And the sooner we can realize that, the better. And I love Matthew West has a song that I have sung and I have listened to time and time and time again. And frankly, it ignited the work that I do well over a decade ago. And it's called Do Something. And a part of the song goes, well, I just couldn't bear the thought of people living in poverty, children sold into slavery. The thought disgusted me. So I shook my fist at heaven and said, God, why don't you do something? And he said, I did. I created you. Service is a part of life. We are called to it. And I promise you, it can make such a huge difference in your life and in the life of your child and in the development of your child. Okay, guys. Remember that we are always here to love and lead our kids to a place that they love and lead themselves. To learn more, you can go to my website. There's a bunch of resources on there, more coming. And I would love to set aside some time to talk with you. And that is all on there as well. So leave some messages below. I would love to know how you and your family serve. And thank you so much. And remember, the best way to change the world is through one living room at a time. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you later. Bye, guys.